Welcome everybody to GGPoker.tv, all the way from Las Vegas. We've got another dude. Where the hell are you guys? Where are you, Fedor? Where are you, ElkY?
We're pretty close to each other, I think, right? I'm in Prague.
You're in Prague.
We're pretty close.
Okay, and everybody's healthy. We know ElkY had the COVID, but now you're looking sharp. You're looking, prepared for this big Sunday.
Yes. I think he looks kind of weak.
You look kind of weak. All right, they're starting early with fisticuffs. Okay, guys. How have you guys been doing so far in the GG series? Any big scores for you, Fedor or ElkY?
I won a couple of events of the GG series, not the WSOPC circuit yet, but Fedor too, right? You won like 2-3 events.
Yeah, still waiting for that ring though.
Me too. Hopefully this Sunday.
So before we get started, I'm just curious, for the people listening and whatnot. Start with ElkY. Give me a little background into what it was about GGPoker that had you choose to be an ambassador for the company.
I've been in touch with some of the guys for many years. Actually, we've been friends back then. And what I love the most is their vision for poker and the fact that they're like the first company in a long time which really focus on the software. I think it's like super important and really cool because, when you play video games now or you play video games like 10 years ago, it's like a world of difference. Like nothing looks the same, but when you play poker now on most of the other sides than GG and you played like 10 years ago, we all played for like 10 years. It looks exactly the same, right? And there was like no improvement. And I think like focusing on the software and improvement is like really key, and it's really cool stuff because they can develop so many like great features like the bubble protection, the staking. Like there's so many cool stuff, and because they developed so much, they invested so much on it. Not only they have like a lot of cool stuff now, but in the future as well, it's going to be so much easier for them to implement any upgrade that we think is cool.
And you, Fedor?
For me, also, that is a really big part. Like I wouldn't say it's specifically the development side, but it's really the speed of it. Like we had conversations, we brought up topics, and we changed it. Like this really hyped me up of actually being able to have a positive impact and bringing in like my experience as an online player, but then also I'm connected with a lot of players, so I can gather feedback and kind of bring that up. And like there's topics coming up all the time, so having this possibility of actually improving the ecosystem, the environment. The other thing I'm really excited about is I think it's the trajectory of the player pool and where it's going is like it's growing and growing and growing. We have bigger fields, bigger binds. Like this is something that's exciting me as well. It's like, wow, this can actually, like the last 5 years, I just felt like it's getting smaller and smaller. And yeah, that's exciting me to actually play some games where it's about the competition and some big games.
Yeah. So speaking of bigger and bigger and bigger, $100 million World Series of Poker circuit events with a crazy, insane schedule. I'm wondering, because there's something for the low roller, I imagine for Fedor, you're maybe skipping those. Like, we'll start with ElkY. Like, ElkY, what is your what tournaments are you targeting during the series? Like, what does your grind look like? How many tables? What are you playing?
I usually play it only 4 to 6 tables because I stream sometimes and I really want to focus on this table, especially like the big events, like the 1K, the 25K. You really want to focus a lot on there because you have Fedor on your table, so it's pretty tough. You have like I play, but there are so many events, like there are almost like too many tournaments that I want to play. It's like and I already have 6 tables. I'm like, oh man, this tournament looks so good. I want to play it too. And I'm like, maybe I'll just be. Now I'm like, I'm kind of older. 6 tables, I can focus. That's good. Before I was playing like 25, 30 tables. Now I'm like, 6 tables. I think if I play one more table, it's probably not that plus EV to play. Because if you play too much more table, of course, this table will be plus EV, but it would decrease the value of all the other tournaments. So I think yeah.
So what's your grind looking like, Fedor? Which events are you targeting?
I'm also experiencing elderness, the first signs. I would say when I started, I played 180 mans actually, like almost, wow, I can't believe I say that, almost 10 years ago, like 9, 8, crazy, huh? And
man,
I was playing 24 tables. Like this was pretty common, like to do these big grinds for like VPPs and then just mass grind them. And now I'm getting to less and less tables, and I'm finding kind of my sweet spot right now between there's so much good stuff to play, and I actually want to see like and remember what I'm doing there instead of just clicking buttons. So right now I'm playing about somewhere between 8 and 12 tables, depending on the daily schedule. And this is like the if I play 12, I can feel how I'm like at over capacity.
Yeah, 12 sounds insane to me. So I imagine both of you guys are keying in on Sunday, because Sunday's a massive day. We've got, the day 2, the PLOs. I mean, there's a whole long list of events that are happening. But one in particular that I wanted to talk about is the $25,000 High Roller Championship that has $10 million guarantee slapped on it, which sounds insane to me. I think 400 people are going to put up 25K online. But I saw that both of you use the staking feature within the software to sell some pieces with there. But both of you, unfortunately, are sold out. So my question to both of you, we'll start with ElkY, is how do you decide like what percentage you're going to put up, and then how do you figure out like what you charge in terms of a markup?
Actually, this time I charge mostly when I sell. I just put a 1, so I just want my friend to buy it. Kind of what you did for the World Series last year, right? Because otherwise it's confusing. I mean, like of course, like I should sell like more than 1 for every tournament, pretty much. But I'm just like, I'm not gonna. It's not gonna make be a meaningful difference at the end anyway. So might as well just sell it for 1 for everything. And I think I'm gonna sell more now. Actually, so if people want to buy, I just like you can also sell more action whenever you want. So when you registered, now I think I sold 30, and I can go up to like 50 if I want, like right now, and people can just buy it like on the soft like as soon as you do it. So it's really cool feature. I think it's you can of course you can sell more, but
some more. You might be opening up some more pieces, yeah.
Yeah, I'll just open them more now. I think I always said I want, because I just want people, people to buy it and just have us wait for the same price. I mean, it doesn't really matter so much.
And then for you, Fedor, how do you go about making decisions on the piece you're putting up?
So I just had to buy a percentage of ElkY.
No, what the fuck? It's not for Fedor. Yeah, I want to sell for the people watching, and now Fedor is like talking and buying one.
There you go. Sorry, fans. Fedor got there before you.
That's what they should develop in the staking. You should ban some players from buying the pieces. Fedor was 5% now. I should just block Fedor from buying.
I went small. I just want a little ElkY sweat in there.
All right.
So this is, I mean, over the years, I've sold a lot of action and I bought a lot of action, and my approach actually changed significantly. So back then when I started, it was a very haggly, like very transactional kind of approach of like really trying to squeeze as much as I could in both directions. And I realized over time that it actually cost me more energy and than doing it this way than just like doing it as kind of ElkY is doing it now. It's just like, hey, okay, it's not so much about, squeezing 1% here or squeezing 1% there. It's about both sides feeling good about the buy. It's like, I want to feel good buying, and the person should be feeling good selling. And that's, if there's no spot in the middle, that's okay. And if there's one, great. And so, yeah, for this type of tournament, I'm actually going to buy some action because I think it's going to be a great tournament. Obviously, a huge prize pool, good 7-digit money for first, and it's going to be fun sweats. When I sell myself, I'm trying to estimate like what I think my ROI is going to be in the tournament, and then just try to cut that fairly with players buying. And then there's also sometimes an entertainment factor. Like some people just, it's like they just want to sweat, and then the profit side is not going to be so important. So I always just think about it. Everyone should feel good about it.
Yeah. So one of the cool things about the GG software is when you choose to, buy a piece of a player, or at least if you decide to sell, you post your staking platform. Everyone can actually see your results and your ROI. And I'm curious, how do you guys decide, like you look at a player, like what goes into your thought process in thinking this is a good buy or a bad buy? Is it the price? Is it, skill level? How do you decide who's a good buy and who's not?
I think Fedor has so much more experience than I in this situation. I swap with the guys I like and I think are good, and I never really made it like such a business. I just like somebody I like and I think he's good. Okay, let's swap. Even if I think he's like, I just like him. It's just a lot for fun and for the sweat, like Fedor said, because it's fun to have your friend at the final table. And if I win or lose a few percent of equity within the swap, I mean, I don't really care as much,
I think the two things to really look at is obviously what do you think is the player winning? Like that's just the important part. If you look at it from a business standpoint, and then and how's the split gonna be? So if that person has a 10% ROI, so it's a 10K buy-in, he makes 1K on average, like now you can decide, okay, is it more in favor of the player playing or more in favor of the player buying? And somewhere we ended up, like I think a fair deal is somewhere around 50-50. And then if it's a really good player, for example, and the market gets a bit tighter, then it's maybe more in favor of in the player. And so it's maybe 75-25 or something. So if someone you think has a 10% ROI, then we would maybe, buy or sell the action at 1.07, something like that. And I think that's a decent ROI for the investor, and that's a decent kind of like insurance or security of selling. So this is kind of how we approached it, and I think it's a decent way to think about it. And then in general, I learned you got to feel good about buying the action, like the person, like to sweat them. Best it's be friends. Then it's the most fun.
Yeah, but it's really hard to estimate the ROI, right? Because like there's not that many online, there's not that many 25K online, and there was never one as big as this one, right? So like if you buy for like a tournament which is running a lot, like 100 or 200, you can have like a huge database of like results for the player. But like here, it's like it's like the biggest 25K that ever will be online. So it's hard to estimate like what the field gonna be and what kind of player results can you expect for particular players, I think, right?
For sure. I think this is the part where you kind of, I mean, I'm getting a bit, this is a bit detailed stuff now, but it's kind of the way I think about it is a certainty range. So I'm thinking, okay, with 95% certainty, he's in this range. So he's at, 95% of the time, he's somewhere between -3% and +25%. And so I think if that's roughly the variance that I think his win rate in this type of, because you don't know how the end field is going to look and so on. So I'm thinking, okay, I would buy his action for 1.04. And this way, I'm certain that I'm going to make, like if it's a bad turnout, okay, but if it's a good turnout, good as well. So like you kind of just find the middle ground of that.
All right, so for the poker fans out there who don't have friends to buy pieces of each other, we do have in the lobby right now about 30 or so people who are putting up pieces. So if you want a little bit of a sweat, you can take a look right in the staking platform and you'll see the price. Now I'm curious, I heard, ElkY, you say that you're not as familiar with some of the screen names here, but Fedor seems like he has a little more insight into some of these high rollers. So if you're a fan out there and you maybe want to like take a little gamble and buy 1% or 2%, who are some of the names that stick out as guys you think might be good value?
I mean, I'm just looking through. So one guy who's probably good value already is sold. So Prince of DTO, his name is Marcus Prince, is a German like mid to high stakes player. He sold at 1. I think he's a good buy. I think Downswing Peters, Dominic Nietzsche, 1.25 is on the high end, but I think he's going to be a very good winner in this field. Chrissy B is pretty decent, and she's definitely going to be winning in this field. Really, really good one just came up actually. I think just a second. Freddie Borg Reiner is Reiner Kempe. He is in for 1.11, which I think is a pretty good buy.
I'll buy some, actually. Let's go. I'll buy everything. I'm going to listen to Fedor. I'll just buy 5% too.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure who Big Gogi is, but he might be a good buy depending on which pro he is. So it's like there's a couple people in there, I think. Some obviously put out some outrageous markups as well, like Alex Foxen. But yeah, I think.
Huh? What is his markup?
1.7. 1.7. That's pretty. That's 1.7 in this tournament. That's pretty sick. Wow.
So how do we feel about that when people do because I've always been someone that believes that you set a price, people want to pay it.
You can decide.
Do you feel there's anything unethical about selling for something you don't think is worth it to the buyer?
I think there's the part where there's still the element of entertainment. So if he puts that up, like no professional is going to buy it, but if you want to really sweat Pocket Jaw, if you want to sweat Alex, like go for it. It's like people pay a lot of money to go whatever to the cinema or to to watch the Super Bowl or anything, like if you enjoy that and you want to pay some extra entertainment fee, like go for it.
So ElkY is giving off, even money, right? So speaking of even money, I'm curious.
ElkY is a steal.
ElkY
Absolute steal.
So I'm thinking to myself, when it comes to even money, like obviously, Fedor put up a package, ElkY put up a package. I'm curious though, if we put you in two camps, right? Team ElkY, Team Fedor, last longer bet. Who's a favorite in that, right? First bullet, who's going to go deeper on that first bullet?
I think I'm favorite for last longer. Last longer is good for me. Last longer is good for me.
That laugh was legit from Fedor, okay? That was one of those Michael Jordan like.
I'm ready to take that one, my friend.
That sounds like fighting words right there between you two.
We're on.
So you disagree, Fedor.
What do you think, Daniel?
I mean, I just like a good gentleman bet. It's just, just
right, so
beating a friend, like no harm in that.
Fedor, I know Fedor has played in tournaments, 200,000 buy-in, and been in for 1.8 million. Okay, because he's just bombing.
That was painful.
And how many hours of lead reg is this one? There's 400 minutes lead reg, so
I'm definitely gonna say that I might be in for 7 in this one. Like it's.
What is your rebuy? Are you going to be rebuying?
Last longer is only on the first bullet, right? Not the last one standing in the tournament, right? Otherwise, it's going to be tough. It's going to be much tougher.
So picking what team they want to be on, ElkY, are you committed to one bullet, or are you doing a rebuy if necessary?
Yeah, I'll probably rebuy, but probably not 7 times. I'll see how I feel and how I bust and how I play. It's kind of hard to say now and how I feel if I bust. If I feel kind of tilted and frustrated, maybe I'll take some time off and rebuy later. But if I feel good and I feel like I'm playing fine, then I'll probably rebuy 2 or 3 times, maybe more. Depends. But probably not 7. Yeah, very unlikely.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to side with because ElkY's going in there and protecting those babies. I'm gonna say first bullet. I'm gonna bet on ElkY here. But the question is, what are you guys betting against each other? Because we got to throw something out there.
All right, do something.
Huh?
I mean, for sure. It was like what? I mean, the first one is the lucky one, right?
Yeah, once you double up one. So we got anything fun we can do a prop bet on? Something stupid?
Okay, what do you want to do?
I don't know. I was just thinking maybe we could do something fun. We'll just we'll tell you what we'll do over this weekend for the viewers and whatnot on Instagram and Twitter. We're going to put up an opportunity for the fans to be on either Team ElkY or Team Fedor, so we can sweat that throughout the event and sort of because what you also can see in the software, which is really cool. So there's no doubt, is it'll say Fedor Holz, Fedor Holz 2, Fedor Holz 3, Fedor Holz 4, Fedor Holz 5, Fedor Holz. So it tells you on the leaderboard, which buy-in that is. So we'll know.
Can you please stop bringing that up? I'm gonna stay one bullet.
This is guy software. We put a parenthesis 8 before his screen name, so it looks like it's always 8th bullet, even if it's the first one. That's pretty smart, actually. When you look on the leaderboard, it looks like 8. It looks like he played 8 times.
Do you ever feel because I've done it too? I'm stupidly insane with rebuys. Have you ever been somewhat embarrassed for how many buy-ins you're in a tournament? Felt some shame?
I mean, I can talk about the 300K because you brought it up. I bought actually in for, I think it was 2.1 million.
Oh,
I think so. It was 7. I think it was 7 bullets. And no, I didn't feel ashamed. I mean, obviously it was a topic, but it was mostly the structure kind of forced us. So it was like I think it was 20 players left and 14 cashed. So you were kind of it was plus EV to just enter straight away.
Yes.
And so we were till the end, and so it was us left, and it was basically you enter, it's 6 minutes left, and you have 10 big blinds, and you ship it in, and if you bust, you go again. And in the last
level of tilt, right? Like bullet 6, boom, ace king loses to jacks. Now you're bullet 7, like level of tilt, scale of 1 to 10.
It was pretty brutal actually, because I did not, I obviously thought about it, but I didn't think it totally through of how likely it is, how many bullets I use, because we were three of us actually, who all were in the same spot. And it was relevant because we had to draw seats. So it was a pretty big thing. if you get in the big blind, I mean, this is huge to like getting on the button or whatever. So this became a pretty huge thing to draw for seats in the end. And we were like, it was so frustrating. All three of us, I think Adrian was the other one, Adrian Mateos. And we were just like walking to the cashier every 5 minutes. And it was just like, oh.
Well, at least you have, what is that saying? They say like there's misery is company, something like that. You can hope just be rebuying like that.
Yeah,
so
it was a pretty expensive day. Let's say it like that.
So when the structure's that fast, you just feel like it's kind of just part of the business, part of like, just it's plus EV, so I'm going to continue to do it. There's no part of your brain that says, all right, I think that's enough.
Just the irrational part. Yeah, because if I feel like, hey, okay, I'm not going to play plus EV, I'm not going to play one bullet. Like, but if I feel like, hey, this is just the way it is right now, even if you play 7 different tournaments and you bust all 7, like that's how it is, So if I play 7 bullets in one, it's kind of the same.
Yeah, but actually, every bullet you register, you have more. If the structure is like that and not that many players left, every bullet you register, you actually have more. You actually have more cheap EV than the previous one, right? Because there are much less players standing in the tournament. So it's also like, I mean, if you're in for 3 or 4 and you feel you're playing good, you might as well just fire until the end, because if you, as you said, like there's 14 players paid and 20 left, then it's like a much better spot. The 7th bullet is probably a much better spot than the 3rd or 4th one, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing as well, where mostly in these tournaments as well, it's like the early ones I do right. So I would re-enter right away because the field is mostly pretty, like this field is going to be great, I think. And so I just want to play right away. And in the end, as you said, I'm entering again because you just get closer to the money and the chip distribution is in your favor. So it's good to have a short stack there most of the time. It's just you enter and you make 2-3% kind of right away. So definitely something. It sounds weird, it sounds crazy to just fire whatever 7 bullets in like a 300K and then you have 2.1 million binds and so on. But in the end, I think it's just very high variance but profitable decision.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be plus EV, but you're gonna bust most of the time before the money. So
Exactly,
that's the frustrating part, like, oh, I have to do it, but obviously most of the time you're just gonna bust before the money anyways. That's kind of always the frustrating part, right?
I think that a good way to compare it is, imagine someone offers you, let's say it's 9 players left and 8 players cash, and someone offers you to buy in now with the start stack, right? Like you're not going to cash often. Like these people have larger stacks and like you're going to bust oftentimes. You have like 3 big blinds or something, but I still would do it any day.
Yeah. So ElkY, when it comes to like, with rebuys and all that stuff, like how do you factor in? It's a question I get a lot and I don't have good answers for because I've never done the math, or I've always been just a silly gambler. How do you do with like bankroll management, right? Like, do you factor that in? Or do you just... Yeah, exactly, right.
What do you mean?
That's why I asked ElkY, not Fedor.
Oh, you have to bankroll manage, yeah, of course. I mean, like if I'm pretty sure Fedor didn't have 100% of himself every bullet he fired. He was like, oh, I won 3 million last time, and now I'm gonna fire 10 times 300. Let's go. You always have to bankroll manage for sure. And especially it's even more important when you take these like super high variance spots, which we are talking about, right? Because if you rebuy with like 10 or 12 blinds, you're gonna like your chances of busting are like super high. So your chance of cashing in the tournament is probably not as much as it is if you just buy in from the start of the tournament, right? So the variance is increased a lot. So you always have to be pretty good with bankroll management and pretty conservative. And I think that's why GG is so great, because you can set action. Setting action is like it's like so great because you can play any tournament you want and you set action on the platform. It's so easy for anyone to buy, and you don't have to take any risk. Like you can play like those tournaments, those huge tournaments are like the 1K 5 million that's coming up also, the WSOPC circuit main event with a ring, and it's like this tournament, like you can take a shot and just play it for 500 or 200 if you want, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, so I'm curious now with you guys, because we've got coming up on the Saturday before Sunday, for those of you that don't have 25,000 to put up for this tournament, we are running a $1,000 buy-in satellite with 250 guarantee, 10 seats guaranteed to get in there. And actually right now, before I ask you this question, we're going to give out 10 $100 satellites into that satellites to viewers who type in the chat high roller. So if you put high roller in the chat, 10 of you randomly will be chosen to have a $100 satellite, $100 ticket that gets you into the 1,000, that can get you into the 25K. So a little hop, step, and a jump. So I'm curious for both of you. I mean, obviously, you know, you guys play high stakes and all that kind of stuff. You don't need to play satellites, but do you still find yourself playing satellites because they're just good value, or do you just jump right in and play?
Yeah, sometimes it depends. It depends on the schedule as well, right? If schedule is so busy and you play tournament every day, it's like you don't want to play more poker and get like mentally tired if it's gonna finish super late. But if it's like a little bit lighter, and then I think it's mostly good value. So that's what I take into consideration, right? If I'm like playing poker every day, like I'm like in the World Series in Vegas, you know, and then it's like there are a lot of good satellites, but I'm like I'm gonna play tournament anyways. It's like, do I want to sleep less hours to play a satellite with good value? I don't think it's worth it, right? So it depends for everyone, I think.
Yeah, I think satellites, I mean, a lot of them I think are great, but I feel when I play them, it's such a different style of playing. So a lot of it is a lot more open shoving and reshoving, and it's not really, it's just totally different preflop ranges and thinking about, because you basically, if let's say there's 50 players and 5 seats, you don't need to be first. You just need to be one of the first 5. So now suddenly the whole style of play changes. And it's very weird when I play one satellite and then I play 9 tournaments where there's like totally different approach. And so that's why it's the same with PK, like with KOs or with like, let's say I play a different game, like I play PLO at the same time. I'm like, now I have to just switch too much. So I try to reduce too many different environments or ways of thinking.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a follow-up on that because it's actually, you know, a curious question. So you play, let's say, for example, the $150 buy-in freeze out GG Masters, and then you find yourself playing in a 25K, right? When you say, like, you know, it requires a different, like, how different is the strategy approach that you have in 150 versus a 25K? Like, what are you doing differently? You don't have to give me any trade secrets, but just generally speaking.
I would say there's less of a difference, but a difference. I would say it starts kind of on every street. So it's more, I would say I always try to think, okay, what's my baseline? So I have a starting point of which I start to think, and it's my best understanding of the optimal strategy. So let's say pre-flop, I'm thinking about, okay, the optimal strategy in a 150 and in a 25K, if it's the same payouts and the same structure, is first of all the same. And so my starting point is the same. Then maybe there's weaker opponents, or like it's closer, like on the bubble, or deeper, and people play maybe a bit more tight, don't defend their big blind enough. So now I start taking like their tendencies into account, and then I start open raising a bit more, maybe add, you know, like 2 to 10% to my ranges in all these different spots. I start 3-betting a bit wider, maybe start flatting a bit more. So it's like there's a couple of tendencies also then post flop that I take into consideration. But if I play satellite, the base strategy is different. Like it's just a 30 big blinds deep on the bubble or something like that, I'm just going to open jam and not really going to be raise folding and like stuff like this. So it's just thinking these two different frames is sometimes can be confusing.
Satellites kind of scared me. I remember way back when, before they were, you know, prevalent like you guys. The idea of like ever correctly folding aces pre-flop made me want to vomit. Like it's genuinely true. Like if a satellite pays 12 seats, there's 14 left, and 2 guys go all in, and you have aces, there's no point in calling if you're the chip leader or whatever. Like, right? So kind of it's a different form of poker, as you mentioned. Now, ElkY, so for you, do you play, like, because you obviously play the high rollers and the low ones as well, do you come in sort of thinking, okay, against weaker players, I have to play this way, and then against like the the pros, I have to play differently, or just play the same poker that you play?
Yeah, I think a little bit more than Fedor. Like I might be from the tournament, but of course you always have to be very attentive, because of course some of these players in the GG Masters are going to be playing the 25K as well. So you don't want to make assumptions which are too strong, right? You can generalize a bit. The tendencies of the people in the GG Masters are going to be different, but you don't want to. You want to stay really flexible and like watch the table and see what happens. Like, okay, because we wrong a lot when we play poker. You know, I think these guys in the GG Master play a certain way, but then I don't want to be like coming to the table and say like I think they play that way and not watch it and not adapt to what they do, because most of the time I'm gonna be wrong. So I think adaptation is still the key, and it's extremely important in poker to just watch your table and watch how your opponents are playing, because like we're all gonna make a lot of mistakes. And I think like also like the more data you have on them and the more you can observe, of course, the better decision you're going to be able to make in the future, because of course there's like an optimal baseline which is pretty similar for every tournament. But basically if you just come to a new table in a tournament like every 10 minutes, we're never going to be like winning a lot, because we're never going to have any information on the player we're playing. And I think at the end, especially in the lower buy-ins, exploiting the opponent's tendency is where you can make the most chips and the most money, I think.
Yeah. So do you use within the software, do you actively use like the notes feature? Are you taking a lot of notes? And what are you like specifically putting in there exactly?
The secrets?
Well, yeah. I mean, just generally speaking. So you see a guy make a play. Are you actually taking a note saying, he check raised flop with gutter, and then or are you generally putting like this guy's a fish, or how do you go about that? Do you label? What do you do?
It's very different. So a lot of the notes I've been taking is actually first trying to find out what type of player they are. So that's actually the most relevant, because it's so for example, there's a certain population tendency you will see in different types of personalities. So let's say he's a high stakes top reg, then he's gonna, like, from one thing that I see, I can draw a lot of conclusions to other things that he's going to do, versus if he's a more recreational player, then there's probably also other conclusions that I can draw. So the first thing I try to find out with color coding is like, okay, what type of player is he? And that I will just see from what hands he open raises, what sizings mostly he chooses, what hands he chooses to bet with, and so on. So this I tried to find out first. And then the second thing is I mostly note things that are outliers. So for example, I've been noting if people are like over jamming too wide, calling 3-bets too wide with outlier hands. So especially if I don't have a HUD or something that is tracking that, then it's more like I don't want to write down every single hand that I play against them. I want to write down the ones that are outliers to a normal gameplay. So I would write down as like, oh, this guy called my 25 big blind shove with ace-5 suited, where he should call ace-10 suited or ace-jack suited. And so this, like, okay, I got to remember that, because this lost me a lot of money.
Yeah. So ElkY, like, you also note taker, and if so, like, how do you play 6 tables or 12 tables or as many as you guys do, and also be able to actually really kind of soak in the action and take notes at the same time? Aren't your hands just going all over the place with the mouse?
Yeah, I'm also kind of like Fedor. I only take notes when it's like really like crazy moves that are like shocking. Otherwise, like I don't like take note on every move that I see, but I kind of color code the guy, and I think like if he makes this move, like is this kind of player. But like one time I played, like I think there were like 21 paid or something and 23 players left, and a bunch of like 4 blind stack, and one guy like open shove like queen 9 off on the button for like 15 blinds. So I definitely took a note. I'm like, wow, this guy is shoving like 15 blinds on the bubble with queen 9. It's like pretty crazy spot. But I don't it's like you cannot, I mean, like most of the time it's not really, you don't need to write down every hand that you played against this guy, or every hand this guy's played, because even if they like deviate a little bit, it's not that important in the long run, I think, right?
Yeah. So, all right, before we close, I wanted to get to sort of the meat of like Sunday and what that looks like. And we've got a couple big day 2s, and I'm curious if you guys are still in there with a stack. First and foremost, we've got the mini main event, which is a 1 million guarantee, which will happen on Sunday, and that's ring event number 10. Ring event number 9, and ring event number 10 is the PLO 1 million guaranteed. Are you guys in there and you got a stack, or are you still trying to qualify?
I'm in the mini main. Not such big stack, I think, but I mean, let me check how much exactly.
I'm just looking. I don't remember. I am in there. I just don't know my stack, though.
I think you got about 1.6 million in the PLO. Not that I'm spying on you. Not that I'm stopping.
But I think you're mixing up too. Like the PLO on Sunday is the 10K PLO.
Yeah, it's a 1-day event, right?
Yeah, and the PLO you're referring to is the 1K on the 30. That finishes on the 31st.
Okay, I may have backwards. But anyway, good news for a lot of you is that if you do still want to qualify for that, there's a lot more day 1s. Like, what do you guys think of these? Like, because this is new to me. Like, well, back in the day, they didn't have tournaments like this where there's like all these multiple sort of almost like qualifying days, right, to make the day 2. I mean, do you think these are like, I mean, high value events, or are they just kind of, how do you approach them?
I personally love it. I think it's a bit too long, actually. Like, I mean, now I think the general idea I really like that it's kind of like mini sats, right? It's like you have satellites, but then you play a really big tournament. I really love that. I think for this one, it's too many flights. Because I mean, think about it. From now, it's like 2 weeks from now on. Like I feel like it's already kind of out of my memory. But like I think the idea generally, I really like to have flights to a tournament like that.
Yeah, I think online is perfect. You know, live you can't really do it because like, except like the WSOP in Vegas or some events, you don't want to like play a tournament and play for 2 weeks or play the same tournament for. You don't want to wait 1 week to play day 2 when you play a tournament, right? Live it sounds pretty crazy, but online I think it's online it's perfect and it's great to have an opportunity to play the same tournament every day. It's kind of they have some online that kind of like the live like the kind of like the Colossus event and those events. I think it's really cool because it can make the tournament so much bigger and give a chance to everyone to play more times and to match their schedule. So it's a really cool idea, I think.
All right, last question I got for you guys, because I know a lot of people that are watching this and just poker fans in general know this is a massive Sunday, is will you be streaming? And if so, where can people find you? ElkY.
Yeah, I'll be streaming on my channel on twitch.tv/ElkY. And
okay.
Let me not 25K. I'm table. The same table as Fedor. Maybe I'll put that on the side and I'll stream the $100 mini main instead.
Fedor, will you be streaming?
I'm not sure. Like for me, it's so hard. I would love to stream generally. But there's a couple of things. First of all, the binds are so high that I kind of have to take that into consideration as well. The second thing is the focus. Like I used to stream a couple times in the past and I enjoy it, but first of all, it's twice as draining for me. Like I'm just more engaging and talking and like explaining stuff, but I can't play as many tables. When I played 5-6 tables when I was streaming, it was just too much stuff going on. So I'm still checking like which of these days I can stream and where it's just too many tables, too many binds.
I think Fedor should play so we even go on for the last longer. He should stream. He should stream it.
Yeah. Well, the good news is for poker fans is that even though you might not see Fedor streaming, we will be on GGPoker.tv streaming the 25K with commentary, grinding the whole Sunday. It's going to be a long one, as you said. There's 400 minutes of late reg. Well, we're going to have. It's going to be a long day, I would imagine. You guys think this tournament's going to go pretty late, I would imagine.
Yeah, at least like 14, 15 hours, I would guess, from the beginning to the end.
This is going to be a crazy grind. Crazy.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you guys get to sleep because I know that Fedor, it's like almost midnight over there, and you guys are going to sleep. I'm going to start my day, but I'm looking forward. Unfortunately, I can't play, but I'm going to be sweating with you guys. It's actually my anniversary, too. 1 year. We made it. Yay. So all those that bet the over, you're going to be a winner in a couple of days. On that note, thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks, Fedor and ElkY, for your time. And tune in Sunday, ggpoker.tv. Sweat all the action. Take care, peeps.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Daniel.
Peace. See you then.
See you guys.